Meet us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google+. Hey guys, meet Huawei Ascend Mate 7. This is their latest from Huawei, and I'm Phil from undercage.com. So let's take a look at it. It's got a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, receiver, and 6 inches of full HD display. This is actually pretty good. And the Huawei logo and overall design language resembles that of the HTC, but it will vary on which side that you take. On the right, there's a volume rocker, power key on there, and the earphone jack, the sub microphone. And 2 slots over here. This is a SIM card. This is a micro SIM card, and the one over here acts as a nano SIM card dual SIM or the micro SD card slot in the same time. So if you want to install dual SIM, then you can have the micro SD card. If you want to install the external memory, then you can have the dual SIM functionality. And there's a micro USB port with microphone. And this comes in gold, white, and gold, silver, and black. And they have a line over here. I'm not usually a fan of a line covering the edge of the phone, but this one looks actually pretty decent. This is actually one of the good-looking smartphones from Chinese manufacturers. There's a 13 megapixel camera, LED flash, and this guy over here is a fingerprint sensor. And unlike most of the Android fingerprint recognizing sensors like we've seen on the Samsung devices or the HTC, this is an area one. So this is just like the one from the iPhone. It's not as good as the one on the iPhone, but it does its job. And the backside is one piece of aluminum over here with the Huawei logo and a speaker. So this part is covered by aluminum. It's metal, and these two are the plastic ones, probably due to antennas. And that's pretty much it. Size-wise, this is actually a pretty small phone for a 6-inch display, so it fills almost all of the spaces with the screen. They're actually very proud of their screen to body ratio. We'll compare them with the Galaxy Note Edge over here, and a LG G3, or a little bigger sibling over here with the G Pro 2. So there we go. It still is a big phone, but they tried their best to make it not as big as the other phones around the market. So you can power it on with the power key over here, obviously, or if you set up with your fingerprint, you can just place your finger over here, and there you go. You can just unlock the screen. You can just simply tap on here and unlock the screen instantly. The fingerprint sensor is not as good as one on the iPhone, but it's far more easier to recognize your finger than the scrollable ones. You can just tap on it, and you don't have to scroll or scratch or whatever to make your finger recognize. So this is the Huawei interface over here. They actually have a name called the Huawei Emotion User Interface, Emotion UI. The settings is divided by 2 sections over here. General is more of a simplified settings, and all you have typical Android settings over here. And it has a few notable functions over here. Let's start with the basics. It's got a Emotion UI 3.0. This is a huge upgrade from the previous Emotion UIs. Huawei used to have a really funky UI. It wasn't the best. It was actually a lot clumsier, and design-wise, it was a lot worse than the stock Android one. There was no explanation to why they would ever do that, but now their latest version actually does its job. The basics come with the Huawei High Silicon Kirin 925. They're claiming that it's a faster processor than the Snapdragon 801, but not exactly sure about that. And there are 2 versions with 16 GB and 2 GB of RAM, or 32 GB of internal storage, and then 3 GB of RAM. We brought the 3 GB of one and the 32 GB of storage, Full HD, Android 4.4.2, and that's pretty much what it is. So a few notable functions include a lot of neat functions. Namely, the navigation bar over here is customizable. I'm pretty sure that the LG was one of the manufacturers to introduce the customizable navigation bar, aside from the mod ROMs such as Cyanogen. And they actually brought it further to make, let's see. Okay, here we go. We have a navigation bar over here, and it's customizable if you want to switch to places, or if you want to add up the notification panel down button over here, you can do that. And if you want to hide it, make it full screen, you can simply tap on here and the navigation bar goes away. It's applicable in all of the applications. If you want to bring it back, you can just swipe from the bottom and there goes the navigation bar back. It's interesting they actually put the lollipop style over here. It's okay, it's pretty that way. So that's pretty much it. And their launcher over here has is colors, and the most notable part over here is just like the MIUI, they eliminate the app launcher. Instead, they have all the icons over here, and just like the iPhone. I'm not a big fan of those kind of way of doing it, so I used another launcher, but if you prefer it that way, there you go. Overall, the most worried thing that I had on the Huawei Mate 7 is confusing, was its processor. The Kirin Silicons were not exactly known to be the best, and I wasn't quite sure about that. We have the CPU-Z info over here. It's a big little processor with the Core A7 and the A15 in the same time. So it's an octa-core. It switches between the cores. If you're using on a smaller capacity works, then it's going to use an A7. If you're on a higher load, then it's going to use an A15. And it actually works pretty well. Kirin Silicons range about, I have a benchmark score over here. It scores about as high as a Snapdragon 801s, and let's see. Okay, we have the number over here. It sits between the Mi 4 or the 1M8, so it's about the Snapdragon 801. So it does actually a pretty good job. And the heat wide, it was okay, and silicon performance was actually better than I thought. Loading up the web pages or the images were actually fine enough. Their scrolls were smooth enough, and the thing of the problem is that it sucks up more battery than I thought. So even though it comes with the 4100 milliamps of battery built in, it's not replaceable. It only managed to last about the 5 hours of the screen on time. There are actually power saving modes here and there. There are actually a lot of moddable things over here. Let's go to power options over here, power saving. There are 3 modes: Ultra, Smart, and Normal. Smart and Normal didn't exactly give us a notable changes. The Normal gave us 5 hours of screen on time, and Smart gave us about the 5 hours and 10 minutes of screen on time, so I guess that's neglectable. And the Ultra is just like a super power saving mode, so we can use the phone normally, so we didn't do a test on that. But if you want to exclude some of the apps from running on the background, you can totally do that on here. Background power management over here, and but those power savings were not exactly effectable, as because when you usually have about a 4100 milliamps of battery, that's about as big as the ones on the tablets, and 5 hours of screen on time is not good. So aside from that, but 5 hours itself is a solid battery life, so we're not going to say much about it. And camera is another thing that I had a problem with. So both back and the front camera had a problem. They actually do have a lot of functions, including the selfie functionalities here and there. There's one called the beauty mode. So you can bring up the beauty level and make yourself a plastic surgery on a camera, so you can do that. But selfie itself is not good, and the back camera, rear camera isn't good either. So that was a little problem. But on the opposite side, sound is actually something that I was very happy with. So when you go to sound, there is a thing called a DTS. Here we go. We have a DTS mode enabled. It gives a pretty good sound if you're listening through the earphones. Speaker was a bit of a problem. Speaker isn't as good as the other phones, as just as the iPhones or the Galaxies. It's okay, just like about mediocre speaker. So what we found over here is that so we've been interested in the Chinese phones a lot. Phones from Chinese manufacturers, if I want to be precise. And they were usually not that good. They were usually a lot lower in the performances or the overall build quality. But this, starting from the build quality, is actually very well built. We were surprised at the build quality, and the inside as the internals as well. Sorry about that. Internals as well. The Kirin Silicons do suck up the battery a lot more than the Snapdragons or the Exynos, but they actually do their job. So this is actually a very interesting phone and pretty well made phone at the same time. We were actually very surprised at what Huawei did, and if your pricing match with the Huawei's pricings, then this surely is recommendable. There are a few aspects over here that we believe that they brought from HTC devices. If you don't mind about that, or if Huawei continues to learn how to make them not look like a HTC knockoff or a Samsung knockoff, this is totally recommendable as its performances, including this notable fingerprint sensor over here. Alright, so that was Huawei Mate 7. Huawei Ascend Mate 7. It's confusing. And we hope you enjoyed, and please do subscribe. We'll see you guys later. Bye.